What is a crescent moon? The crescent phase is a phase of the moon that occurs between the new moon and the full moon. We all are aware that the light that helps the moon be visible is obtained through the reflection of light from the sun. The moon's position keeps on changing from time to time due to its travel around the Earth, and it makes the moon appear bigger sometimes and small at other times. It is mainly due to the position of the Earth and Sun considering the distance and position of the moon. The main reason behind the occurrence of the lunar cycle that gives rise to different phases of the moon within a certain period and the crescent phase is the moon's appearance in its larger and smaller phase. What is a waxing crescent moon? A waxing crescent moon is a growing moon. The beginning of the waxing crescent moon occurs only after the new moon phase, when both Sun and Earth are in opposite directions of the moon. The most of the moon gets illuminated by the light that it gets from the sun, and the brightness gradually increases from 0.1%? 49%. It occurs before the full moon phase. What causes a waxing crescent moon? The waxing crescent is an important crescent phase observed in the moon cycle. This crescent phase of the moon occurs when the moon is near the Earth during its rotation around it. It indicates that more moon parts will reflect the sunlight and be visible to the people. It gives rise to the waxing crescent moon. This waxing crescent phase occurs between the first quarter phase and the full moon. As the moon varies its position during its rotation, the lunar cycle occurs, and its appearance varies as per the position, making it appear thinner and larger. The larger illuminated appearance of the moon is referred to as the waxing crescent. There is a gap of 29.53 days between each waxing crescent phase. Waxing, the growing crescent moon, initially rises before noon starts and moves through the meridian, and sets before reaching midnight. How does a waxing crescent moon occur? The shape of each phase of the moon differs from one another. It is considered the intermediate phase of the moon that starts after the new moon, ends before the full moon, and comes back after the new moon. It is referred to be the synodic month. The illuminated area on the moon's surface will increase to approximately 50%. It occurs due to the variation in the position of the moon. What is the shape of the crescent moon? The shape of each phase of the moon differs from one another. The full moon has a spherical shape, whereas his new moon is not visible. Similarly, the crescent phase has two types, and each type differs in its appearance. The waxing crescent moon, the brighter phase, appears to be in the shape of the alphabet D. The waning crescent moon, the thinner phase, will appear to be in the shape of the alphabet C. The waxing crescent is a bigger illuminated area, and the waning moon is smaller. This crescent moon sometimes also appears to be in the shape of a U. What causes a crescent moon? The light reflecting side of the moon obtained during the rotation of the moon causes the crescent phase to occur. There are two crescents. It is considered a waxing crescent if the illuminates portion increases. If the illuminates portion lessens, it is termed waning crescents. Both occur at different positions in the lunar cycle. The other major cause is that the Earth tilts at 23.5 degrees during its revolution. The latitude plays a major role in helping the waxing crescent occur in the other crescents, such as C or U shapes. The first crescent occurs between the new moon and the first quarter phase, and the second crescent occurs between the first quarter and the full moon. The reflected area of crescents makes it take place silver line in appearance. As it keeps on rotating, we can observe the more reflected portion of the moon. Difference between waxing crescent and waning crescent. The waxing and waning crescent phase symbolizes the reflected areas of the moon portion. The major difference between them is listed below. Attributes for comparison: waxing crescent, waning crescent. Definition: it is the phase of the moon between the first quarter and the full moon phase. It is the phase of the moon between the new moon and the first quarter phase. Size of moon yes phase. In this phase, the size of the moon will grow gradually. In this phase, the size of the moon will shrink gradually. The shape of the moon? S phase. The moon in this phase will resemble the English alphabet. D. The moon in this phase will resemble the English alphabet. C. Reflected area. The illuminated area in this phase of the moon gradually grows. The illuminated area in this phase of the moon gradually becomes less. Occurrence in the waxing crescent phase of the moon. The dark portion of the moon will become less, and the illuminated portion will increase. In the waning crescent phase of the moon, the dark portion of the moon will increase, and the illuminated portion will decrease. How often does a crescent moon occur? The crescent moon occurs in each lunar cycle. After the new moon phase and before the first quarter phase, crescent moon will be visible. The gap for each crescent moon is 29.531 days. It takes place in each lunar cycle. Frequently asked questions (FAQs). What happens during a crescent moon? During the waxing and waning crescent, we see two different moon shades. When we observe a waxing crescent phase of the moon, we will be looking at the illuminated phase of the moon, and the remaining portion will not be visible to the naked eye due to the submerging of that portion under the moon's own shadow. How does a crescent moon occur? The crescent moon is nothing but the light reflecting side of the moon. We all know that moon rotates around its planet. While rotating on its orbit, the phase of the moon observed by the people on planet Earth will be different. Sometimes it is possible to view a large portion of the moon, and while others, we can see only a thin portion. It is the main cause of the occurrence of the crescent moon. Can we consider the crescent to be a half moon? The crescent is the thinnest phase of the lunar cycle, and it is just thin as a line, so it cannot be a half moon. It is one of the phases in the lunar cycle that will take place in the first quarter phase. It usually occurs in the northern hemisphere. This crescent phase is considered the very thin phase of the moon, where we can only make visible the thin light of the crescent on the left side. The moon undergoes a transition to occur in this crescent phase each month. Is waxing crescent moon a rare sight? The waxing crescent moon is considered the intermediate position/phase of the moon in its lunar cycle. The waxing crescent phase of the moon takes place soon after the new moon phase and will end at the first quarter phase. During this waxing crescent phase, the amount of reflected light will initially be 0.1% and starts to increase to 49.9%. It is not an important phase, but it stays for a longer period and occurs each month. What is a waxing crescent moon phase? Crescent can be the thinnest or largest phase of the lunar cycle that depends on light reflection on the moon's surface. It is one of the phases in the lunar cycle that will occur in the first quarter phase. The waning crescent will usually take place in the northern hemisphere, and this crescent phase is considered the very thin phase of the moon, where we can only make visible the thin light of the crescent on the left side. The moon undergoes transition during its rotation in this crescent phase each month. What are the important things that we would miss if there were no existence of the moon? Moon is such a beautiful creation in the universe, and we cannot imagine the phenomenon caused if there was no moon. Some of them are listed below. Without moonlight, the nights would become more darker. There would be the absence of lunar and solar eclipses. The axis of the Earth's rotation would tilt and make a difference gradually with time. We know that the tides are caused majorly due to moon. If there was no moon, then there is a chance that the sun would give rise to higher tides. The duration of the day would become lesser. Please visit our website lambdageeks.com for more articles on technology, engineering, mathematics, and various other domains. Scientific calculator and many more other tools.